Yeah, lesson 7, but we call it lesson 1 because it's in semester 2. So congratulations, because you have managed to overcome great obstacles, great boundaries. 6 weeks so far of rigorous, inner battles with new information. And you're starting to kind of open up this new perception, and usually we see around this time, and especially again when we go into 3rd semester, that how the class will it's like a breathing. It breathes, it pulls, things get shuffled, moved around, and so I'm glad that we've managed to meet. Even though we changed the day, it was I was terrified that we wouldn't be able to manage it. But the fact that we did means it's a good, solid group. And we're going somewhere. So Alfredo will join us. Jose, God willing, Alfredo for sure. Mirna will be here shortly. And let's pray that she has no problems and she can join us next week. But more important is her health. I know. Let's see. That's a tough one.
Which was it? Was there this or
was it? No.
You're young, Jose. Older Jose.
Well, there's 3 Jose.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, we were just talking about it. It turns out there was a 3rd Jose.
So
because
we gotta ask now.
Yeah, so we were so confused with the last names because Latin people have multiple last names. So we didn't need any other Jose, so we assumed it was this Jose or the other one. But we knew he was Jose Cano, and we knew he was Jose or Jimenez, old at least, right? But so there was a discrepancy if he was Jimenez or Ortiz or which was his last name. So it turns out today I'm going through the phone, I called you and I phoned through the list and I called it and I'm assuming it's this Jose. It's a totally another Jose. And he goes, hey, who are you? It's oh my God, you're a 3rd Jose. So
you'll always be young, Jose.
So it's really up to us to kind of sustain things, to keep the let's say the house built, or the pillars of the house sustained or built. Those that are we'll take shifts sometimes in those the priests of the temple. Some days these guys are on duty, and then these guys are on duty. And you'll see how naturally we'll kind of fluctuate, but eventually, if we all stay together, we'll all kind of survive the war. Let's put it like that. Okay. So with that being said, let me turn this down. Today is the start of semester 2. Semester 2 is my favorite semester because it's the hardest of them all. It's the most complicated, and it's the most that you'll walk out of here, out of class, what the hell did we just talk about for 2 hours? It's really difficult information. And I'll go more into what's in store for semester 2. I'll break down all the lessons, and then I'll kind of tell you why it's this way. And mostly it's because we discussed the upper system, the upper world. We discussed a place that's totally not in our scope of our senses, and so it can kind of feel like it's in the sky somewhere, or outside of us, or who knows where, somewhere else. So you don't feel like it's close to you. You don't feel like a connection to it, or as if you can relate to it, because it's so opposite to us, or to our nature. So that's why we divide the lessons into 2 ways. We divide them into the upper system, the structure of the upper worlds, and then a very practical, this world, Kabbalah and health, Kabbalah and the family, men and women in Kabbalah, this and that. We kind of break it down, so we do half of the lesson upper system, really out there, and then we ground it at the end with this world in Kabbalah. Okay? But it is one of the toughest semesters, both for the students as well for the instructors, because these are very exalted things that we're discussing. And so it's really, that's why it's my favorite, because I like a good challenge. So, but you see that it changes and adapts with every class, the way they see things, how they perceive this upper system. So it's really cool how it kind of takes shape as we go through it. So let's start with an intention. Let's I'll add to this intention. We're going to watch a clip from our teacher. So let's really, I think in this one particularly, just from what I've been seeing with what's been going on lately, we just went through a convention this past weekend, a congress actually is what we call them, gatherings. We do these gatherings regularly, and this one was a very large one, but we did it locally here. We had about 12 people that came. They were here all weekend. And so multiple things occur after these gatherings. One, usually it's a lot of light, right? A lot of light that comes. Those that participate in it. What happens if you get under a waterfall or something? It's like if you don't hold on to each other while the water's like hitting you, it'll disperse you, and before you know it, like you don't know where anybody is, right? Everyone's kind of like dispersed. So one of two things occur after these very large gatherings is that either it's either we got to pick up the pieces, or we just rise and rise more on through our connection. Let's put it like that. I know you weren't there, but it doesn't matter because like we're all like one system, and so you'll see that after these gatherings, like it's almost like you hit a reset button. Like the whole world is new. All of a sudden, you have these feelings like Karen is having. You don't know where you're at. You don't know what's going on. Everything's like confusing. What's happening? All of a sudden, people fall, hurt themselves. It's like stuff that's going on that doesn't like everything was so normal. It seemed like a rhythm, like organized, and all of a sudden things aren't the same anymore, and everything's like a different world. And so we see that this is how the advancement goes because we're constantly renewing ourselves and everything is new. And so I know for sure, and we talk about it all the time with the advanced students, that the people that were here, now they're back to their houses. We had people that came from Puerto Rico, that flew from North Carolina, a guy came from Philly. We have people that came from all over. And so for sure, I know that they're trying to figure out what's happening now in their houses, in their homes, back at work, whatever their life is. I know it is for me. I'm still trying to see what's going on. And I wasn't able to stay the whole time. I had to leave and do work on my house because I start this new job tomorrow. So I was not there the whole time. And so for me, it's like extra all over the place. But because usually those that hold on the most can hold on afterwards. But so why am I saying this? Because let's do this intention now for that disbursement. Let's think about Jose. Let's think about Alfredo. Let's think about Sheila. Let's think about Mirna. Let's think about each other here in this room. That we would manage to hold on and continue. We want to see our friends advance.
We did a workshop for summarizing. And the question was, what's the most important thing that you feel that you got from the study of Kabbalah? And each answers a very different answer. Many beautiful things. It's too bad I didn't write it down. It would be really nice. And everyone says that they have no idea of how it happened, what it connects. How does this connect to what you said, that it is revealed to us by the forming light, and knowing how to explain seemingly how, by what it was changed. Yes. And how it changed. Yes. And not in a direct manner. He doesn't see the connection. You're studying in the classroom, you learn something, you learn articles, you learn this, the wisdom of Kabbalah, and it's as if completely different things in his life all of a sudden change as a result. Yes. Can you explain that? No. They can't either. No, I can't. This is the light which operates on us in such a way, and in accordance with our Rishimot, it changes each and every one. And we see how this happens or that happens, and also things like this and like that. The world is filled with surprises for the good or for the bad, and it's as if it's for the bad. And we can't. It all depends on the root of the soul and the connection between the souls. What needs to be revealed in each and every one in accordance with his advancement. When you see the general spirit, the system later, then you can maybe observe from your experience backwards. Ahead, you can't. Ahead, it's all foggy. It's obscured. Always. Rabbi Shimon, all of a sudden, Shimon from the market. All of a sudden, something, and then the other. And in what way is Shimon from the market or something, or the head of the mafia, or a soccer player, or a watermelon salesman, or anything? It can clothe in all kinds of forms that one does not choose.
I haven't told you guys a story about Shimon and Shimon from the market. Remember I told you guys about some of the Kabbalists that would reach such a high degree that then in turn they would like forget something, like they would forget how to write or how to read or something like this. So these are the states that he's discussing, that like in 1 second you're like Rabbi Shimon, who was like this image in the Kabbalistic world. He was a great Kabbalist, very high degree, right? So they say like, oh, like Rabbi Shimon. But then the next moment he's Shimon from the market, which is like, he was like on a degree from just like anyone in the world, like he is any guy that you would find like in the marketplace. And so like you heard, that's why these are kind of the states that we're discussing. And that's, last class was a lot about this. About something that I didn't really mention to you guys, but when I met with the other instructors from the other campuses, they went a little bit into it. So I'll add to what we were talking about last week, about seeing the good in everything, about seeing how it's all created. There's none else besides him, and he is good, that does good. And those two things that that occur, and they're called ascents and descents. And I did describe them to you, but I didn't label them, in the sense that we talked about the left line and the right line, and that the left can feel like a descent. It feels like I fall into the vessels of this world, I fall into corporeality, I kind of lose my passion for spirituality, for the need to read the books, connect with my friends. And then there's other moments where it feels like ascent, where I feel like I'm ascending, where I feel like everything's going good, everything's great. I have power in the work, I have strength, I can see my friends positively, everything is great. And so this is kind of those sensations where like we have like a Rabbi Shimon who are like ascending, and then like a Shimon from the market, like I'm descending. And so this is really, this path, this spiritual path is like this, in the sense that as we rise, to the degree that we go up, we must go down. And so we begin to traverse kind of the overall ladder of development in our spirituality.
Looks like we should be on bipolar.
Yeah, it's interesting. My wife, God bless her, she's we've been together even before I studied Kabbalah. I met her at a really young age in college, and then I started to study like a year after. And so, and she was with me the whole time. And so for her, she same. She makes jokes like this, like we say it's like a roller coaster all this time. But really, it's, you talk to people in this world and, yeah, they have hardships and they have things like this, but they're generally, you'll see that they're kind of like unchanging like this. They're always the same. Okay, maybe they lose weight this year, or they do this, or now they're into Game of Thrones, but then they're like into, House of Cards next year, whatever, right? You see it's like minimal changes in their lives. But then you talk to someone who's like studying Kabbalah, who's on this spiritual path, and he's like going through all these states. And today you meet him and he's like this, and then tomorrow like that, and it's like, and you're always new and different and evolving, and so sometimes like I sat there one time, I was talking to one of my good buddies, a musician in New Jersey. He studies with us for years. He's an instructor in New Jersey. And I told him that I was sitting on a light one time, and I was just looking at this guy, his father, who had 3 kids like me, and he's just loading up the kids, and I'm thinking to myself, what could this guy possibly be worrying about? Like, look at what he possibly be worrying about. And then Seth chimes in, he goes, yeah, he's worrying about if his DVR recorded his show last night, or what time are we gonna go have cocktails, or like, it's like nobody's really concerned about these large things. And some are, right? There are general seekers that are kind of like trying to do something about it. Usually, generally, a person who's on a spiritual ascent, he's really going through inner changes, large inner changes, which are not easy to digest, and gives you the sensation of left and right and up and down and pulling and all over the place. And you gotta keep your feet on the ground. It's tough. And so that's why it's good to have an instructor when we're going through this, because as to not fly off into like the upper world, And we see that there's like, there's people that come and they study with us, and then after years you don't see them, and then they come back and they continue their study, but without a group and without anything. And we see that they're flying somewhere like in the stratosphere, their feet aren't on the ground, like they're they're kind of, they go a little crazy in a way just because of the things that they think is happening. And so my point is this, is that the spiritual progress that we go through of revealing that there's none else besides him, that this whole system is all created by him. And the more that we can see the creator behind every single action, the more that we can actually enter into a state of adhesion with him. It's precisely what we were trying to do this last weekend. It's called the state of Ubar. It's a state of like an embryonic state, the state of an embryo, where an embryo is like within the womb, and it's just receiving completely from its environment. It has like it's not calculating anything, and it's the state of kind of annulment that where you kind of diminish yourself enough in the society amongst the spiritual group that you can actually kind of enter into that embryonic womb. And what's the womb? Like the society, the environment around you, and ultimately to be able to go through some sort of birthing process. But my point is this, guys, it's been 6 weeks. You've already started studying. You're already on the path. Let's hear from you. You've felt some things. You've seen some things. Things are maybe different. Maybe they're not. Maybe everything's just exactly the same. Regardless, we're going to do a little warm-up workshop where you're going to describe to everyone one of the moments where you felt something special in the campus lessons, like while we were here.
What do you mean by define felt?
Felt. Maybe it could even be outside of class, right? It's like maybe when you finally felt something where, like, something we were discussing, like really, hit you like an aha moment, or you finally felt something, or like we're here, we're talking, and all of a sudden, like, something inside of you vibrates, and you're like, and finally things are clicking. I don't know, like, it's up to you. Or you can say the coffee was good, like.
I can start.
Yeah.
Actually, I feel like I've been, out of the way for like 2 weeks now. And coming back, even just now, just 10 minutes of you talking. I feel like with everything, obviously, everything kind of digs into your better into your understanding after a couple weeks, after a couple months. Like I said, just from 10 minutes of being here, after a while, but I still, this is still in the back of my mind, even if I'm not, it's not my intention the whole time. But just things start clicking, like when it comes to the Kabbalah, and it's not like everything makes sense, but just it's aside from sort of refreshing, it's also like you said, just all this stuff. Like what you just said, it kind of I don't know, it just makes sense. I don't know if that's what I would say, but it's kind of like something special. So.
We can go either way, Marilyn.
Why don't we all sit up here at this table, be close to one another? Since there's only 3 of us, that's special.
Is that it? Is that what you're
Actually, what I'm really saying is that I feel closer to everyone, more like family. So I'd like you to be close
All right,
to
we
the
will.
table, like if we
We
were
will.
eating
I
supper
will.
together.
Okay. I'm going to be your problem child.
With my belt.
Because I have been a seeker and I have been doing the up and down all of my life, and I'm a questioner and I'm a huge doubter. And I look at Myrna, and she has such an, and I'm sure maybe the rest of you too, but it's just so obvious to me with her. She has this internal faith that's just there. She's still hugely intelligent and questioning and everything, but she has this solid core faith inside of her. You can just tell. And this is going to resonate and strengthen that faith. And I don't have that solid core, never ever have had. So for me, this kind of came synergistically, and I'm trusting to that. I have moments, but it seems to me the moments coincide with other things too. So it's not just this; it's the combinations that are falling together for me. So that's what you're looking for.
We have a problem child every class, every semester there's one. But actually, it's actually, I'll be honest, the ones that are more the problem are more the ones that advance the furthest, because they don't just accept anything. They test, they go. We see they end up in the long run being the most solid students, the ones that have been with us longest, and they were, really, not the easiest of people. Or the opposite, because they just, they,
All right, so we promised you would move up.
yeah. So come on.
Thank you.
But anyways,
Thank you. Let's put another chair for Miranda when she gets here.
so so we're gonna watch a clip here in a second, but I'll tell you about me.
But I'll stay here and when we have workshop, because I don't think we're gonna fit into
Sure we will.
Yeah, maybe right here.
Yeah, we can throw Mir's not here when she gets here. So,
Yeah, there's plenty of room.
we'll
We'll make it fit.
it's funny. This is the whole path. It's these ascents, it's the movement. You can't stay still when you're advancing spiritually.
Yay. Feels better already.
Right?
See?
So, but ultimately, it's this. It's the how do we work together? How do we sit together? How do we overcome these things? So it's legendary that I'm a friendly guy, right? It's very well known that, and I don't know if I've told you guys these stories before, but I've gone to many congresses around the world, large gatherings. We have them in Israel all the time. There's one now in February. Unfortunately, this year I won't be able to go, but I've gone for the past 10 years without ceasing. But this year I just can't go. So I love to go to these places and kind of mix with them, and I'm a very friendly guy, very well known for this, for just being a very loving, warm, welcoming person. And so, but at the same time, one is revealed the opposite, in the sense that we come and sit with me, right? Come and let's all sit together. But really, inside of you, maybe there's something that's gosh, why do I have to sit with other people? Why can't I just be in my corner? This kind of thing. Even you may not want to see that it's there, right? And the further you go, you see more, you start to reveal that this is precisely the thing that we're trying to correct, which is our interrelation with others. How can I love another person? How can I feel equal to him? How can I be on the same thing, same degree with him, and all this stuff? So what I'm getting at is that this weekend was very hard for me. We had lots of friends here from all over, and it was very challenging for me. And I wasn't my usual happy self. I was a little more quiet, internal. Even when we did workshops, maybe it was hard for me. It was really, really challenging for me because it was, and mostly because of the diversity in the people. Because with the guys that are with me all the time, and the ladies, I know them very well. So we're like family, so we can connect, no problem, right? But Israel started doing this thing where they shuffle tents, meaning that before you used to just sit with the same 10 people, and that was your spiritual group. That's what you did everything, right? And even within large groups, here we don't. We barely have one tent, but in places like New York, they have 3 tents, 3 men's tents, 3 women's tents, and so we kind of interconnect like this. And so I see the eyebrows. Don't worry, we'll talk about it.
Are you doing the same thing? My women and men. Okay.
So we have a whole lesson devoted to that, maybe 2 lessons. So, but anyways, so my point is this: is that then what ends up happening is that you get so close to these people that there's no more room to work, in a sense, because you're not overcoming any kind of grinding, let's put it, against your ego. And so they started to randomize tents, in the sense that now it's all random. You come to class, you sit, wherever you sit, that's your tent. Boom, you work with them. And like this, it becomes much more challenging because you're sitting with someone who studied for 2 years and maybe you've been here 20, or a guy that just showed up yesterday. Or or a gal from South Africa, and you don't even know who she is, and she talks funny, or she has these ideas, Anyways, it causes you to kind of really do this internal spiritual work of having to overcome yourself, listen to them, in the workshops, the hardest. Really accept what they're saying is my opinion, not having my own thoughts, really kind of listening and sitting. It was very challenging, very challenging. It's not easy work, guys. And so, but at the same time, this is the core of it. And you see that even the advanced students, we go through, through everything. And so I'm telling you this because this is we don't talk about the bad and what's to come, right? Everything it's actually a beautiful path, and everything is revealed. But ultimately, these challenges that we're already starting to see, more and more we'll pinpoint them, discuss them as they occur within this group. Meaning, when you get to the end of this semester, the obstacles that you'll have will be between each other will be two parts. One much less and much greater at the same time between each other. Meaning that you'll come closer together, you'll feel closer together, but at the same time, you'll have even larger obstacles to now overcome between the unity between you and how you're interconnected. And so that's why it's great that more and more we should kind of sit at the same table and really kind of have that sensation of closeness, because there'll be days that maybe you'll miss it. Let's put it like that. So, okay. Let's watch a clip and then we'll go forward, and then I'll get to the men and women later. I have a whole line on it, and then we'll talk about it.
So the world that is depicted before me is all given it in advance. My qualities, my thoughts, even the fact that I'm standing here and asking. Every given matter in any given moment comes from above. So I'm controlled 100% for this moment. From this moment onwards, for the next moment, it's already in your hands. So here comes the question. In spiritual development, when you come to attainment, so what will be the difference in our thoughts or our desires? Will I all of a sudden feel that they are mine? Also, now I think that they're mine. You can think whatever you want. We're talking about a person who begins scrutinizing what he can change his destiny with. What's the point in his life? Can I reach in my understanding of life? All of a sudden, he doesn't just discover life, you can change life. All of a sudden, it's revealed to you that you not just can change them, but you can come to the highest degree of perception, of grasping, of understanding, of defining the state, controlling everything. How? You have from 1,000 buttons, one button with which you can spin all those 1,000 buttons. You can. They won't bother you. All those 999 buttons won't bother you. This button's in your hand. And this button is called free will. You need to discover this button, and then you go from side to side each time with different work, a different scrutiny with this button. And it's not that you're holding on to it like this. You grabbed it and that's it to the end of the way. No, you need to constantly search for it. Where is it? There, between all of them, I have 1,000 buttons. Where is it? Now it's here. And then what can I spin with it where it's specifically here? And in the next state, in the next degree, where is it? Oh, it's here. Wow. And so this is how you change. It's not some kind of superficial work. And this work moves you from place to place, throws you from one side to another, and within your matrix, within your conditions, and through them, by you having this button, you can operate all the rest of the buttons. But it's an approach towards everyone. The free choice obligates us to come to a group, all in all. What are we talking about here? What big deal do we have here, all in all? To come to a group, to come to an environment, to come under the influence of an environment. If you're under the influence of that environment, together with the environment and connection with it, you can hold on to this button. By doing so, you change your destiny.
So we're going to do a recap of the first semester. And then we're going to have something, actually you have an exam today, by the way. I don't know if you knew this, but you have an exam today of the first semester. And depending on how you do,
Don't feel bad.
don't worry, we'll see how it goes over again. So, but there is, after we go through the recap, get ready, you're going to have an examination to make sure that you know your stuff. All right, let's keep going. So, Lesson 1. What is the wisdom of Kabbalah? The wisdom of Kabbalah is no more and no less than a sequence of roots which hang down by way of cause and consequence by fixed, determined rules, interweaving to a single exalted goal, described as the revelation of his godliness to his creatures in this world. Okay? This was the definition that Bala Sulam gave us in Kabbalah for the Student. It's on page 21. It's amazing. You see, the wisdom of Kabbalah is a science. It's a way, a method of revealing the upper system, how nature works. It's nature, what we call a creator. It's the thing that governs all of the creation. Okay? It's not any mysticisms. It's not religion. It's a science. I heard our teacher this weekend. He said someone was asking about the Creator, but the Creator wants us to come into adhesion with Him. He wants us to do this. And he said, look, I know we talk like that, but He wants. Okay? But it's like you're standing before a giant calculator or a giant computer. It operates under one program. And if you manage to input the right coding and you approach it the right way, it will operate in this fashion. It's like a huge machine. And so the Kabbalists know that, and they've already mapped it out, and they know precisely how it operates. And so they describe to us how we can interact with this machine, because it's unchanging. And it always, anytime you input something, the output will be precisely the same every time. So, in essence, this wisdom is also called the wisdom of the hidden, because it's describing to us that in which we can't perceive, which is the Creator. We cannot currently perceive that system. We can't perceive how this upper system operates. Where does man reveal spirituality? Even though we see everything as actually being in front of us, every reasonable person knows for certain that all that we see is only within our own brains. So are the souls. Although they see all the images in the giver, they still have no doubt that all these are only in their own interior and not at all in the giver. Okay, and this is on page 424, also from Bala Sulam, Yichud Ashlar. So this is telling us that all the changes that need to happen in you. That computer, that system, it's not changing. It's static. But you change. And as a result of your changing, you can begin to perceive, open up more, discover this upper system and how it operates and how it works. And so all the changes that need to occur, at first we feel as if we need to correct the world itself. Like we need to make the changes outside of us. I need to change the fact that they're starving children. I need to change the fact that this happens, that happens. I need to change my house. I need to do this, maybe feng shui it up, whatever. But we see that at first we do external changes. We feel as if I change this world, then I can make it a better place, and somehow Creator will be revealed. But what the Kabbalah tells us is that it's quite the opposite. That all the world that you're perceiving is actually inside of you. And the reason why you see a bad image is because you are uncorrected. And you're the cause of all the damage and all the harm in this world. And so if you correct yourself, you correct the whole system. You correct the whole picture of reality that is before you. And so the change must occur in you, not outside of you. That's why you can't compel other people. You can't come to them and say, why aren't you this way? Why aren't you that way? More to my liking and less to how you are. Because they're programmed that way. It's you that needs the change. You're the thing that needs the correction. Let's put it like that. Okay? So I'm sick, right? I have an illness. What's the remedy? The Kabbalistic books. Okay? Therefore, we must ask, why then did the Kabbalists obligate each person to study the wisdom of Kabbalah? Indeed, there's a great thing in it, worthy of being publicized. There is a wonderful, invaluable remedy to those who engage in the wisdom of Kabbalah. Although they do not understand what they are learning, through the yearning and the great desire to understand what they are learning, they awaken upon themselves the lights that surround their souls. This means that every person from Israel is guaranteed to finally attain all the wonderful attainments that the Creator had contemplated in the thought of creation to delight every creature. And that's from Introduction to the Study of the 10 Sefirot, item 155 on page 373. And so we see that at first, we don't understand what the wisdom of Kabbalah is. We have no idea. It's just like kind of vague at this point. Or maybe I've had some contact with it. Maybe I've read some books about it. And, but yet I come to it. And at first, the concepts seem very far away, but, or very close, depending on the person. But eventually, there's a light that reforms, that comes and actually performs the correction. Okay? So the light is what corrects. We don't go inside of us and fix things, even though we probably should. But we don't. The light corrects. Okay? And that's what's in the Kabbalistic books. And it's authentic texts that were written from Kabbalists, from their attainment. And it's your desire to want to know what it is that activates the book itself. It's not that just having the book. That doesn't help you. Okay? Historically, actually, they thought that just by having the Book of Zohar in your house, you were already like a wise man. But you actually got to pull the thing out. You got to want to read it. So it's not enough to just like throw it in your purse or something and you'll be protected by some forces. There's nothing to be protected from. It's all created. Okay? But you do need to activate the book through your desire to want to learn it. And then if there's an upper force that comes and corrects you. Of course, you can do this alone at your house. You'll get something from it, but nowhere near what you'll get if you do it with others together in a unified fashion, because one doesn't attain alone. He attains through others. Okay, so what's the difference between love of others and the love of the Creator? Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you. This is what do they call it? The summary or the, before a test, what your recap? What does the instructor do before the test? He does the cliff notes or like summary or whatever of what's going to be on the test. Okay, so all this stuff. Yeah, I hope you're paying attention because this is what all this stuff is. What's going to be on the test. So. All right. Anyway, so what's the difference between love of others and the love of the Creator? We should know that there is a virtue to love of friends. One cannot deceive himself and say that he loves the friends, if in fact he doesn't love them. Here he can examine whether he truly has love of friends or not. But with love of the Creator, one cannot examine oneself as to whether his intention is the love of the Creator, meaning that he wants to bestow upon the Creator, or his desire is to receive in order to receive. And that is from the writings of Rabash, Come Unto Pharaoh. It's in the other book. So, like I was telling you guys, to the extent that I can love others is to the extent that I love Creator. Let's put it like that. So the fact that this past weekend I couldn't sit at the same table with those people, and I was like so rejected from them, that's my relation to the Creator right now. That's what He's doing to me at the moment. Okay? But then I leave here, I go back to my house, I had to do some work there. Right away, I'm thinking, oh, Creator, of course, and in my mind I'm like, oh, I'm connecting to you. It's so easy, right? Because where is He? I don't even see Him, right? But I have some love in my heart for Him, and it's simple. Oh, I can connect to Creator all day long. But then to come and sit with people and do something with them, I'll do anything else. Seriously, I'll do anything else but that, but connection. And this is the argument that the will to receive has. This is the argument of Pharaoh inside me, that he does not want connection. It's the last thing he wants. He would rather stay over there in that chair and not come to this table. And like this, more and more we reveal Pharaoh inside of us. Okay? But as a result, we can't fool ourselves. We can't fool ourselves that we have love for Creator because we're using it as saying, do I have love of others? Do I have love for the others? Oh, by the way, this is a review for the test that we're about to have on semester 1. I'm serious. You think I'm playing? So, all right. So that's why it's like, yeah, I can have connection with Creator all day, no problems. But others, nah, not so much. I'm not interested in that. So my point is this: is that that's the difference between love of others and love of the Creator. Is that we must. Creator said, if you want to come to me, come through them, come to them. Meaning that we have to connect with others. We have to discover that love of others because that's where the breakage is. Because we're one creation. And if we can't interconnect, we can't, like on a sci-fi level, kind of come to this new degree of like human, then there's no hope for us. But it's funny, I was watching some sci-fi movie like 100 years ago or something, and it said something like, they said, oh yeah, at first a planet kind of develops and it's fighting itself, and they're kind of killing each other, for the resources of the land. And eventually they come to a point where they realize that they don't need to fight each other, but rather become one. And then once they become one, then now us, this upper galactic force or whatever, we come to them and say, oh, now you're ready to join our ranks because now you can kind of be one. It's something like that, right? So my point is this, is that it's like, we're still stuck on this like animal degree of like fighting each other, taking from you, and like children, like senseless children. Give me that toy. I want it because you have it. It's like we're doing countless shameful things to each other all day long, and we're still not on that human degree. We're still on that animalistic degree. And so to say that I love Creator is easy, but to love the creation, that it's in all those flaws and all that love that too. Just like when you love your child, you love her with all her flaws, and yeah, she's sassy, but you love her when she does this and moves her face like that. I'm telling you, you really, it's easy because it's your child, but someone else outside of you, impossible. Someone else's child, forget it. You can see all the flaws in someone else's kid. But yours, don't say anything about my child. He's perfect, beautiful, baby boy. My mother defends me to the day. She does, no matter what I do, I'm telling you. This woman, like, even to my wife, so I'll tell you a story in how, because I try to tell this to my wife, like we were observers of things. And so I said, well, have you not noticed how my mother, like, no matter what I do, like, she loves me to no end? And she goes, yeah, I saw it. She goes, the night when we went for Mexican food, and my mother was there, and my son didn't want to eat the thing. He didn't want to eat, right? And he's 7, he knows better, and we've gone through this 100 times. He didn't want to eat. He has this thing with melted cheese. He loves it on a pizza, all right? But if it's in other forms, he's not so enjoying it. But my mother ordered these like flautas with cheese, and it's like, have the thing. He's like, I don't want the thing. I was like, eat the thing. She's watching you eat the thing, And he's like, I don't want to eat it. And so me and him had this kind of little battle. So eventually I had to go take him away and talk to him, right? But I lost my patience a little bit. So then while we're gone, my mother says, what's up with Isaac? And that's my son's name. She goes to my wife, what's up with Isaac? And then my wife says, what's up with Isaac? What's up with Juan? So it's like, so you see that even like for the grandson, that's not the same, but it's like the mother will always like love her child no matter what. And to this extent, really, we need to have that love for others. No matter what, your flaws, what you do, we, like a mother to a baby, we clean your butt, we love you, we kiss you. This is how we should love each other, okay? And if we do that, then we can reveal Creator. But what is my free will? Because He governs everything. Even if I want to try to love others, He's the one who's orchestrating the whole thing. So let's read. It says, and when all is said and done, there's no difference here between man and animal. And if that is the case, there's no free choice whatsoever, but a pulling force, drawing them toward any bypassing pleasure and rejecting them from painful circumstances. And providence leads them to every place it chooses by means of these two forces, without asking their opinion in the matter. Meaning, the upper force is constantly guiding us, constantly moving us, using the two forces. Do you guys remember what the two forces are?
Pain and pleasure.
Yeah, the two chains, pain and pleasure, exactly. You're shackled to this angel of death. It's like my son. I don't want the flautas. It's like it's painful for him. But that horchata, I don't know if you know what horchata is. It's this wonderful drink. He loves it. He loves the horchata. So he's constant like this. We're naturally drawn to things we dislike and pulled to things we like. So much so that it becomes even in relation to others. Like if I have a thing where, like, I am a Star Wars person and Trekkies, forget it. I dislike them very much. And all of a sudden Karen tells me she's a Trekkie. Oh God, I can't even look at the woman. It's like, and you see that you already come with these kind of things already, even inside of you, that you're kind of like pushed away from things and you're pulled towards other things naturally. And Creator does this with us. The whole system, he's governing us. And very easily we move. Because how do you move a donkey? Anybody grew up on a farm? No? Anybody ever had to deal with a donkey that doesn't want to move? Okay. Yeah. Even you hear this in like business world or psychology. You can put a carrot in front of him and he'll want. Or what's the other way? You gotta whip him. You gotta whip that big bottom and get him to move. So like this, we're in a way like stubborn donkeys. And actually the donkey is, I don't know if we'll talk about it at all, but the donkey is interesting because the Kabbalists use the donkey as a way to describe the will to receive. Like you'll hear our teacher, that's a little carpet, you know, because the donkey has like.
You got your dog on you.
Right? Yeah, the donkey. We're like the donkey. So the donkey, we're like this. We're like that donkey. And there's even articles called the donkey driver of at what point are we riding the donkey? Meaning that we rise from the animal degree, and now we're the driver of the donkey. That now we're actually sitting on the donkey and we're driving. You know, with the help of Creator and all that. But ultimately, you'll see that our teacher all the time uses the word donkey. It says, oh, what does your donkey want? He wants to sleep. He wants a good meal. You know, he wants to watch some TV. You know, this is what he wants, your donkey. And we describe it like this in the sense that we have these animals that we're existing not just within, but it's a part of you. You are this Karen. You are, you know, this Marilyn. This is you. It's your donkey, right? No disrespect, you know. That people get disrespected and maybe call you apes or something. So maybe donkey's even worse. But in a way, it really encapsulates the fact that we are this way. We're these very kind of stubborn beasts that know best, and we won't move unless there's something pleasurable that we will get as a result, or if something's scooting me from behind and making me move. Okay? And as a result of that, Creator moves all the donkeys. All right? But where's my free will? Because he's doing this to me, he's moving me with these two chains. My free will comes later. Well, now you guys have free choice. When I'm finally presented with the fact that that this exists. And my choice is my environment. Because no matter the environment, you will be consumed by that environment. Okay? You will intermingle with them. Their thoughts will intermingle with you. You will become them. And X, Y, and Z. I used to very much dislike sports because I just had no interest in them. But I had these buddies when I was in college who we got together because we all liked beer, right? So it was like, hey, you like beer, I like beer. Let's get together, right? We were, you know, closer in with the law of equivalence of form. But then they liked football. I don't like football, but I like the drinking, and you like the drinking, so, okay, we can meet there, and I'll be there. But before you know it, I'm with them for some time, all of a sudden, I'm liking football. And all of a sudden, I'm learning about the teams, and I'm learning about this and that, and I'm liking football. The furthest thing I'm ever interested in, they're infecting me. They're like their thoughts. I'm kind of getting from them. It's the same when you want to put you want your child to develop, you put him with good kids, good other kids. You can pay them to come and be with your child, and you'll be sure that he will grow up well. You know, we understand that socially this is how it occurs. We are exact environments. You've heard about the scientific studies with petri dishes of cells that grew, and it wasn't the DNA. It was the environment that made them grow, that made them change. They became this kind of cell or that kind of cell. So meaning environment is everything. That's our choice. So what environment do you put yourself into? That's the choice that you have. That's your free will. Well, it goes further. Let's read the whole thing because there's more on the second one. And when all is said and done, there's no difference here between man and animal. And if that is the case, there's no free choice whatsoever, but a pulling force drawing them toward any bypassing pleasure and rejecting them from painful circumstances. And providence leads them to every place it chooses by means of these two forces without asking their opinion in the matter. And so our sages warned, make for yourself a Rav and buy for yourself a friend. And there's also the choice of books, as we have mentioned, for only in that is one rebuked or praised, in his choice of environment. But once he has chosen the environment, he is at its hands as clay in the hands of the potter. What's make for yourself a Rav and buy for yourself a friend?
Be careful when you read.
So make for yourself a Rav, okay? We never talked about what Rav is. I'll tell you. Why do they call our teacher Rav and not Rabbi or not Rebbe? For one, he's not a rabbi. He's not ordained as a rabbi, okay? And two, why do we call them Ravs? Rav in Hebrew means great one, okay? So great one. What the Kabbalists tell us, make for yourself a Rav, is that you appoint for yourself someone that you know that is at least 1 degree above you. At least one. Because maybe we're all different and you say, oh, he's very wise and all, but me too. And so, you know, are we on the same degree? If we're on the same degree, I can't learn from him, okay? But if you make for yourself a Rav where he at least is 1 degree above you, now you can learn from him, okay? So even though, however that gap is, if you think he's on 125 and you're on 0, or you think you're like 124 and he's 125, doesn't matter. He has to be at least 1 degree above. Okay, so he's the great one. He's a degree above. So you make for yourself a Rav, someone that can explain, a guide that can explain what's going on, what's happening. He can explain and navigate the wisdom to you. And then you buy for yourself a friend, meaning that you get others that can work with you, study with you. So much so that if you, now it's not so prevalent, but you'll see how important, it'll become so important to you that you need others for this study and for this development that you're willing to buy them. Like I said, for your kid to develop, you will pay other good kids to be there because you know that they will develop. They will bring him good. So how will you buy your friends? You buy them with love, actions of love, saying nice things to each other. Wow, man, you know, that was a great question. Wow, hey, you know, I don't know what, right? How everyone talks to each other, but I know with the group that I'm in, we give each other compliments. We say, you know, this friend is so great. You know, he's done everything. I've done. Look at this and that and that, and we recount things we've seen him done or say or something like this, and we praise the friends. That in essence, we praise each other. We actually have an event every week called Yeshivat Haverim. Okay, you will later be invited to this. But it's Yeshivat Haverim. Haverim is friends, and Yeshivat is gathering. So the gathering of the friends. So it's an hour long, and all we do for an hour long is sit and talk about the greatness of the society, the greatness of the friends. Oh man, this is awesome! And then people inspire each other, and they talk, and they do this, and they do that. It's on Sundays. It's pretty awesome. It happened this morning. And so we really conduct ourselves in this way, where we're appreciative of others, meaning that they're helping me advance because they're infecting me with their desire for spirituality because I can't do it alone. I can only do it but so much. But their desires, that faith that Mirna has inside of her, that's such a core that everyone loves. That's what we praise her for. And we say, thank you so much for what you've done. Oh my God, you don't know how much you influence me and you give me strength, you know? And you appreciate each other. You buy each other with actions of love. Or you can bring them cookies or a bottle of whiskey or whatever you see. And of course, there's even funny things about this. And later, that semester's 3 and 4, we get into the other book, the social writings, where you don't give a person potatoes if he likes carrots, right? You give them carrots. But if you like potatoes and you're trying to give everybody potatoes and they don't like potatoes, hey, that's not, you're giving them what you want. You have to give a friend what he likes, okay? And of course, we're not talking about potatoes. We're talking about spiritual, okay? In essence, later we see how much your friend's corporeality is your spirituality, meaning that they become the place where I can bestow, for you to become the bestower, okay? And that's why what I'm rebuked or praised for is my choice of environment. Did I come here? Did I not come here? And that's it, okay? That's your free choice. Questions?
Do you have to answer them just by that, or can we answer them by what we really
Well, the good news is that it's multiple choice. It's right after this. The exam is next. It's multiple choice, and we're going to work together, okay? So each one will help his friend. It's another rule of the Torah. Each one helps his friend, okay? If you see your friend is in a low state, you help him, you come to him, you inspire him, you say some good stuff, raise him up, lift him up out of the swamp. So we're helping each other. So don't worry, you won't be able to. There's no other option on the multiple choice test where you can put what you pick.
Because
So-
I mean, I can hear everything you're saying, but I don't necessarily resonate with everything you're saying. So I can answer it properly, but that doesn't mean by that, but it doesn't mean it's
Then approach it in a completely, like if you were in a college course, like learning physics or something like this. You don't know how the atoms work or how the inertia really takes place. You don't even know all the inner details of it. You're just learning a subject. And if you approach it like this, it still works on you.
So I think I asked this question last week, but I'm going to ask it again because you're talking about how we all sit around and together and we are in a spiritual community and so therefore we're making the connection. But I operate in a lot of communities looking for spirituality. I have friends that we do Buddhist meditation. I'm a yoga teacher. The yoga community is all very much about spirituality. A lot of this overlaps. Some of it is just saying the same thing in a different way. So just like I asked the other week, I mean, my feeling is, and it's one of the things that grates against me, is that you think that this is, I know it's the code and the science and all of that, which is one of the main things that led me to it, but do you exclude these other spiritual groups when you're talking about the spiritual group of the Kabbalists?
I think it's we covered this where it's in the definitions, right? Of like what is spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
You go to a good Star Wars movie, and when they have these theaters, it's like RBX and like this. It's like the top of the line things, and you sit in there, and there's recliners, and they have like and the whole place rumbles. It has like things to rumble. And after you're done watching this amazing experience, you get out and you say, "Man, that was a spiritual experience. I was like on some next level," Or I can go and take some ayahuasca or do something that's like, and also trip out and experience something, that I can say this was a spiritual experience. And so, and people, say, when I look into the eyes of my child, I have spiritual experience, And so it's like, to define what is spiritual is, that's the problem today, is that there's so many options and so many labels that we can say is spiritual or not spiritual. So for a person to decide for himself, he needs to decide for himself, what is it or what isn't? Is this spiritual or is this not spiritual? I have this might just be my brother-in-law, but my brother-in-law is very into yoga also, and he's been doing it for quite some time now, and he's growing out his beard and he's not cutting his hair on his whole body for 7 years because after 7 years he says that then he's like a super receiver and he has he's like a cat with his feelers out and he can feel like the next dimension and he sells his knowledge to others for profit and he wants to become a guru.
I have to say I've never heard the fear thing.
No, it's good. But let me say, like this, you can throw a rock in water. Everyone's got something.
Yeah.
So my point is this: is that he's selling his guru-ness and his sensitivity and everything, and he says that he has the ability to view people's auras and that they're different colors, and he can immediately, by looking at you, tell how great or small you are. Which is amazing talent to have, for starters. And if you want to sell this thing and you're the only one who can do this, it's spectacular. So just come to me, give me money, and I will tell you what color you have. And I will profit from it. And what about love of others? What about, this or that? Are we practicing bestowal? Eventually what we see is that, what I've seen, because you've probably seen other things that I haven't seen. What I've seen, because I did go through a few of the major religions, and I went very far, and I can go work in certain places. They would hire me as ministers and different things like that in different realms of places. And I've done a lot of theological research in a lot of topics. But my point is this, is that eventually what I saw was that we were lacking the most fundamental thing, which is love of others. That we can hang out together. We really enjoy each other's company, and we have friends that study with us that also go and do yoga, and they really do yoga conventions and stuff and hang around and they do it and they love it. And he goes, one of my buddies, the same musician I was talking about, he goes, man, he goes, they're so beautiful. They love each other. They sit around. They really want to create a beautiful spiritual thing. He goes, they're just missing one thing. They're just missing creator in this. They're just missing creator. He's not there from his observation. So then in another way, if you want to take it to a whole other extreme, check this out. They say, well, if you say that the world should operate like social communism in the way that we need to be interconnected and working together, why can't we just force everyone to do this? Kind of like in Russia or in other places where we said you must love others, we work together, everyone for the common goal. You make the bread and you make the shoes, and we come together and everyone gets equal. And now we're all equal, and you force it on people. Where what's missing also, we miss the creator himself because he's not there, because he's one law, which is bestowal. And so we don't, as a rule, you'll hear this no matter who you ask, instructors, people that study, you will get many different opinions, but we don't badmouth any other organizations, and we don't say they're wrong or that they're not right. What we say is that they're very much needed, and they're doing them. So that's great. And if you want to do that, then you should go do that, because one soul shall teach it. But some don't want to do that. They want to be here and they want to learn this. And so that's who we're catering to. But to say, we won't make a business out of saying they're wrong and we're right. And also you won't hear us say, this is the only method or the only way to achieve creator. But rather you will hear us say, this is the method that has been proven from Kabbalists, and it's the method of Baal Sulam, the foremost 20th century Kabbalists, and it's been proven and tested to be effective. So if you would like to participate in that, this is what we're doing. And so everyone else, you'll see they're doing cool stuff, and they're looking at many different things. And I think it's also interesting. I'm telling you, I've sat and I've tried to talk with this guy. Even people that study Kabbalah, look at this. There was a woman, when I first started studying, I worked as a retailer for one of the Disney parks at Epcot. And there was a woman there who also studied Kabbalah. And I was very young and very, young. And I didn't know that there was, other things, right? And so I told her, oh, you study Kabbalah also? And she goes, yes, I love Kabbalah. She goes, I do so much with it. She says, it was so funny, because you know how the wisdom of Kabbalah says you must exit yourself and enter into others, and this and that. So the woman says, you know what I did the other day? She goes, I was in this one store, and this one guy pissed me off, and I exited myself and went into him. I was forcing him to do stuff, and against his will, to really show him, and she was studying Kabbalah, and she had this sensation that she was greater than everyone else. She had this really snobby attitude towards everything that she knew and no one else knew, and she had these magic powers and she could do all this stuff. But then later, what I saw was that it was incorrect also. It was for her benefit. She was using it in a perverse way. And even though, and it's all confusing because the wisdom says exit oneself, meaning to feel everyone else, to be a part of them, to see yourself as one. But she's seeing it as literally like her exits her body, enters another person's body, and moves it like a marionette. It's in the interpretation, and that's why if you study alone, you will always corporealize it. Always, you'll see it, all the wisdom as physical, and you'll miss the internality of it, the hidden part. And so that's why it's a very simple, basic wisdom. It's just been hidden for very long. And it's pretty much the fact that we're all one creation, no matter if you are into yoga and you're into, science. Cool. Where can we meet? How can we connect? Because if these things separate us, then are they good? No, they should probably be eliminated. Okay, so do we need all these other things? Well, where can we connect? Okay, now we connect on a mutual degree. And that mutual degree is that I want a good life. I want to reveal an upper force. I want to feel good. Okay, me too. I want the basics of necessities. I don't want to have to worry about food, sex, money. Me neither. Cool. Can we get to that level? Can we get to that degree where we care for everyone collectively, one creature in the whole world? This is what Kabbalah's talking about, loving others. But then they're saying, no. F other people, excuse my language. I don't need other people because I go straight to him. And I drink this thing or smoke this thing, and I feel him. So what need do I have for the whole of creation when I can do it by myself? So I don't need anybody else. So then in a way, it's like their focus is internal on themselves and not external to the other ones. And then that's the Kabbalah stated their eyes later, they invert. And now their eyes are like backwards, where they're looking inside of themselves. But they need to look outward. So my point is this, is that the wisdom of Kabbalah covers the fundamental breakage of all of humanity, which is the fact that we hate each other and that we can't get along. And does anyone have any solutions on how to make that better? If so, propose it. Because if we continue this way and we don't do something about it, we will be forced to by this upper force called nature, and unfortunately it'll be from the path of pain. Meaning we'll see in his articles about it from Boston, where we will see the third and fourth nuclear wars. And then those people, whoever's left, will be forced to have to come together as one humanity and work together as one and above all their differences. And then no, yeah, all that stuff won't matter. All the books will be burned and no one will even remember what that guru had to say. Because the conditions are so bad right now that we don't have food, we don't have water. And look, nature operates like this. It does that to people. Look at all these countries and things like that, tsunamis. Why are these things happening? And then when those things happen, the people unite above all that and they help each other. And they finally overcome their differences and they start working together. 5 days later, they forget about that. But Creator does this. He's pushing the whole system to operate. And so that's why, like, if you have time for all those other things, surely, but I'm still trying to figure this out. And I'm still trying to figure out how to, still navigate this world with my family, with my wife, feed them, make sure everything's good. I mean, so it's so each person, each one, and his soul shall teach. So that's why I'm telling you, you'll never hear a teacher talk about anything bad about any other organizations. Okay. All right. What else? You guys ready for the test? Come on, Hossein, you have a question.
Yeah, I was reading this thing. I'm sorry, my words. I was reading this thing in here where something said that the word rest. Let me just find the right.
Let me grab the thing here. What page is that?
245.
You just want to read the whole paragraph?
Well, so it says right here, and everything that is not in him and does not extend to us directly from him, but contradicts creation itself, will be against our nature and difficult for us to tolerate. Thus we love to rest and hate to move so much that we do not make a single movement, not for the attainment of rest. So what is rest? What's that mean? Like, because it keeps saying there that because the root, that is because our root isn't in mobile, but at rest, and no motion exists in him whatsoever. Therefore, it is against our nature and loathsome to us. I just didn't really understand what rest was, and therefore I don't really understand pretty much that whole thing.
So there's a couple things here. One, I'll approach it from the level of this world, and then I'll tell you about like the other one. So, man, we're still not done with the stuff that's going on with my house, right? I'm telling you, it's like the never-ending story. It's like, so some days I just lay in bed and I pray for rest. I pray for the kids to keep sleeping at least 30 more minutes and not get up and run in the room. I pray that I won't have to do the work. I pray that I can just lay there and do nothing, and just rest. And I see that I really pray for this. So sometimes I even, it's much more intense, the sensation of what I'm praying for and how much I really want to just not do anything. But I'm compelled to do things. I'm compelled to get up. I'm compelled to take care of those kids. I'm compelled to have to feed them. I'm compelled to have to go to work. I'm compelled to have to come here and teach you guys. I'm compelled to have to deal with the other people that I study with. I'm compelled to have to sit in the lessons with my teacher. I'm compelled to, my mother compels me. Everything's compelling me. Everything is making me move. And I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit and do nothing. I just don't want to move. I don't want to deal with anybody. I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I love my children so much, but just one day, just let me sit, you know. And I pray for this, and really, you see that we don't want to do it. That we just want to be like in us, and that we have no desire for anyone, anything, don't need anything. Just put me in a room somewhere, give me some books, the internet, water, food, basics. I don't need a lot. That's it. Just leave me alone, you know. But I live in society. I must move. I must do stuff. Okay, so that's on this degree that we're exhausted by the attempts and extent of one's efforts to do what's right. Because the right thing is to feed those kids. The right thing is to do good for my wife and my mother and everyone, to bestow, to give, to do as much as I can. Yeah, I'm tired. Forget it. I can do it. More, more, more. And like this, you exist in the doing, and it actually becomes, it's against your nature, because you don't want to tolerate it. You don't want to do it. You know, you can't see it, and you don't want to do for others. Okay, and then later it's not a sensation of compelling where, damn it, and you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Where you're like, okay, I'm doing it because I have to. Here's the food. You've seen some of these mothers. I wish I didn't have the burden of you children, and here's the food, and that's not the approach. The approach is that later you overcome all that, and you do it actually for the sake of bestowal, that you see that the giving and the doing for others is the place itself of the work, and you're rewarded with the work itself of doing. That you do it with love, and you make above your tiredness, above everything, you still do it, okay? That's this one. Upper world is the holy still, meaning that also in the upper world, you don't want to move either. You just want complete balance, adhesion, and stillness, and just complete fulfillment with the upper. This is what the root of your soul wants to occur, okay? Because it's also down in this lower world, and it's being moved, and it can't go anywhere. It's all constantly moving and searching, and it doesn't have a place to rest, okay? So it's hoping to go into the upper, adhere with the one soul, okay, on the degree of Ein Sof, and just stay there and just be there without need for anything, like the holy still, just like beautiful, Chafed Chesed they call it, delighted in mercy. I don't need a shirt, I don't need anything, not even the shirt on my back. I just want to be in the upper, completely with him, in balance, no movement, complete fulfillment, never-ending pleasure, just pure enjoyment. But we can't. There's always a movement. There's always, now I have to do something. But why? Because we live in deficiency. We live in lacks. People have deficiencies. Hunger, I gotta feed them. Deficiency. Oh, my mother called me, you have to help me with this thing. She has a lack, I have to help her. My wife, the kitchen isn't done yet. Deficiency. It's like, and I'm constantly working in deficiencies. People have lacks, needs. And this is how this whole world is built. Because this whole world is built with clean desire. Okay? And so then you see that the whole world is like this. It's an empty world. That it's actually, there's no fulfillment. So there's constant need for more from everyone. And so then the Kabbalist becomes this conduit where he draws down the light from the upper and connects it to the lower, fulfilling let's say, the basements. Okay?
So should we just try to be at rest, like, as much as we can?
You should, actually, this is what you should do. You should, and our teacher, this is from my teacher, you want to accelerate the process, meaning that you want to move forward more and more, quicker and faster, as much as you can, through all the states, so that eventually you come to a point where you're like vibrating very fast, okay, meaning you're doing all the internal changes very quickly, and you're moving upward and upward, but it's fast. So much so that through the speed of it, that it feels like it's like super fast, like vibrating like this, then it becomes the place for like the stability. But at this level, this is at the lower degree, meaning that we have to do the efforts, we do the work. We're like in Egypt, meaning that we have to do and suffer and do the work and put in the work and freaking work. Okay, all the efforts, and that's what we're in a place now of your deeds that make you, in the sense that in which you do, you have to do, and the more that efforts you put, the more you're rewarded. There's an article about it in the sense that it says Those who say they put in the work and received do not believe. Those that did the work and obtained believe, meaning that it's only those that really put in the efforts, that did it, and it's visible and he knows it, then you can believe that he's attained. But prior to that, if you don't put in the work, we can't. This is a world of efforts. It's a shattered world. We'll go more into it later about where we're at and all this stuff, but you can't sit, man. You can't sit still. Yet they say that if you don't know what else to do, sit and do nothing is better than causing harm. Okay, so if you're like in such a state where, remember we were talking about a sense and the sense earlier? If you're in like such a state where you're like, you want to destroy everything, and you want to destroy the world, and you want to destroy the kids and your wife and your job, and you want to just, because this is possible, it's better sometimes to sit and do nothing than destroy, you know? And then with time, you'll see that you'll begin to kind of exit these states and kind of wake up. Okay? Does any of that make sense? Okay.
I have another question, if you don't mind. Yes, you were saying that the creator is everything, or
There's none else besides him.
there's nothing else besides him. But I was also reading around here that that one about foolishness and poverty, that's not in him.
Mm.
So like, is poverty part of the creator, or is that?
Yeah, everything else. This is a hard subject, right? Because when you look at these articles, you gotta really see, and you're reading Matan Torah, right? Which is one, it's a little more advanced than what we're studying now, and then we read this during a certain period of the year, which is the giving of the Torah. When is that? The Matan Torah. It's a holiday season.
Oh, it says right here.
Yeah.
By the same token, we love
What is 245? Right above it? Underneath, okay.
we love wisdom, strength, and wealth, etc., because all of those exist in Him, who is our root. And hence we hate their opposites, such as foolishness, weakness, and poverty, since they do not exist in our root at all.
All right, so it's not in our root, right? So okay, so what's your root? Where did you come from? So in the beginning, you were in the thought of creation. You were one with Creator. We developed in this world, and then now we're in the process of returning into adhesion with Him, right? So your root is from here. It's from the degree of Ein Sof, without end.
It's confusing.
Yeah, it's upward. Yeah, it's the tree is inverted, meaning that the roots are up, not down, right? So you would think, so you're like on the branch level, right? And the roots are above it because there's like a separation. So what it's saying is that foolishness, weakness, and poverty, they don't exist in your roots, right? Meaning that those are symptoms of this world down here. Foolishness, poverty, weakness, all that stuff is from this degree. And so ultimately, there's two things. There's one is your root, which is from above, but then there's your nature, which your nature is it's like this world. Your nature is to be egoistic. You're a receiver. You want all the time, right? So these things like foolishness, poverty, and all this stuff, it's not in your root. So it's not in the core of who you are. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that it's not in Creator, right? Just because it's not in the root of the soul, meaning that you're like came from a higher place, doesn't mean that it's not all Creator. Because maybe there's a thing where you're saying, okay, so if I become with adhesion with Creator, then I must be Creator or something like this. And it's not. We're still separate the two because there's still something prior to this, which is Creator, and it's Atzmuto. We don't discuss it. Tzmuto, meaning that Creator was always there, even prior to us. Which means that He also created this world with foolishness, with weakness, with all that stuff, and there's none else besides Him. And it's okay, and those things are all right. But ultimately, a person needs to or wants to overcome those things and exit them. Even though there's a whole another article that says that, and it's in Shamati, the other book, but that it doesn't matter if you were born weak or strong, or if you were born dumb or smart, it says, and it goes further, but ultimately, each one still has to take upon himself the correction of his root, meaning that regardless of if you think you're not smarter than others or you're not as strong as others, that doesn't take you outside of the fact that you still need to do and correct your spiritual roots, meaning that we don't just leave the work for the strong ones and the weak ones do nothing, meaning that these things are still in how we're created, and it's all also created. And it's only on man, our degree, that we see these things as negative. But ultimately, then we start to see that what we learned was that there's none else besides him, right? There's none else besides him. Meaning that he also created the weakness. He also made you not strong. And he also made you not smart. Even though in this world they would be perceived as lesser than others. And so it doesn't matter. He's the one that created and did everything and all of it, including your thoughts, including how you're programmed. And that includes also the weak and the poverty and the hungry and the bombs that are exploding and the exploitation of women and in the Middle East and everything. All that, yeah, it's creating. No, but how could it be that a creator can create such horrendous events in the world? He created the creature. And we're the ones that are doing all those horrendous events. Also, through his hand. In a way, he's doing it also. Why? So that we will see such a corrupted picture, such an evil in the world that we will want to run away from it. That we will be so, we will reveal our nature to such an extent that we will be willing to exit our nature and say, this is horrible. Who would ever want to do these things? And then we would want to now desire.
Hasn't happened yet. We're still making the same mistakes.
I know. And that's why, and it's still happening, and it will continue to happen more and more. And believe me, it's not, you'll hear, I'm talking about it now, but we really don't ever talk about it again, outside of a few lessons here and there about, because we don't discuss the bad, we only talk about the good. But we do say, we see that how much, there's articles written about it from the Kabbalists that say that in this century specifically, that we see that the will to receive pleasure, the ego will develop itself so coarsely, like rigid and thick, that it'll you will see huge atrocities, mothers eating babies and like horrible things. It's they say that God forbid we don't do our work and bring the love to the world, and we don't have to even avoid all those nasty things.
There's a huge dichotomy going on right now, actually, of the two.
Yeah.
Because there just seems to be more and more of the striving of this way, and yet there's more and more that way too.
It's often, you'll see that the more that you have love, the more it's everything is plus and minus. This is how the upper system works. So the more that you have people that are generally seeking, looking, hoping that there's something, and they're looking, even there, they may not be discovering, but there's a general force that's in that direction. You're going to see another force in the opposite direction. But it's interesting also. And our teachers spoke to this. But look at this. They're also connecting, though. They're connecting also. Do you know why the young people in Europe and these places are leaving and they're going to join ISIS and all these other things? Because of the camaraderie, the brotherhood that they have behind a cause. So they're connecting. They're doing what the Creator wanted us to do, to connect, but in the opposite format, for hate, for the complete opposite of it. So they also want connection. They also want this, but yet they're doing it in the opposite format.
They need a belonging.
And this is what we're seeing.
Because we're mammals and we need a pack.
We're created socially because we're created one unit. And so you see that also we bless for the bad as much for the good. That ISIS is a necessary force. And so much so that our teacher, you've heard us say, and we're the ones that have to do this. Remember at the beginning I was saying, you're the cause of all of it. You haven't corrected yourself. You're why you see all the evil in the world. So much so that the world will compel us to do the work, to bring this to them. We're that piece we're actually the Rosh, the head, and they're the goof, the body.
You would see it otherwise, though.
Oh, of course. Of course. And so, meaning that we have to bring them the method of correction. if we bring them the method of correction on how they can actually overcome all of this, then they will compel us. And actually, they'll be angry at you. They say, you knew this the whole time, and you didn't tell us. They'll come to you with banging on your door and saying, we feel like you have something that we don't have. And it's all, I'm telling you, this is why we see anti-Semitism in the world today. Because they're going to the Jews and they're saying, you have this method that, but it's in the form, the opposite form of hatred. I want to destroy them and kill them. But really it's because they are the ones that are supposed to bring upon this method to everyone else. But they're not doing their role. So a bunch of goyim like us have to come and do it for them. Okay? Because the Creator wants it to happen. Okay? It must take place. And so we're like these kind of this interconnected force that connects the goof with the Rosh, and we become the givers of the lights to them, because we can connect with the other. We're part of that root that has that ability. That doesn't mean we're more or less than them. We're just the head. Do you think the head thinks it's greater than the hand or the foot? No, it's all one body. It doesn't distinguish. The liver does what the liver does, and it doesn't say, hey, why are you a brain, and what are the heart? You're more important. No, it just works in the human body. And it gives to the human body. And those that go against it, the cells that aren't operating in the whole, what are they? They're cancer. And they go against it, and they begin to consume and then decay the rest of the body that's supposed to be operating in use.
I think that according to what you had just said, they did try to help, but they were rejected every time they tried.
And that was us too. And we'll talk about it. There's a lesson on it. When we cover the history of Kabbalah and Israelites and everybody.
I just have to disagree with the fact that the world is worse than before, and it's gonna get worse. You know, from my point of view, evil and like atrocities, it has always existed.
But
Because
people begin
2000
to grow.
2,000 years ago, there were coliseums and people, killing each other. And like in 1 week, they could kill, 500 animals, tigers, giraffes, and a lot of
No,
things.
you're right. It always
You
existed.
watch boxing and
I
wrestling.
think that the
Yeah.
difference now is that even, communications, like we get to know about the chaos. We get to know, and in 1 day, we know if there was an earthquake in Germany and if there was a tsunami in, Polynesia. Before we even know. Before we were not connected, then it was
Yeah,
happening.
it's
we were
becoming
not
more
aware.
revealed. This is the point.
The thing that didn't exist.
So also look, it's in the complexity also of the ego, meaning that before, like in the medieval ages when it was pretty dark, right? What were our desires, like even for culinary things? A hunk of meat and a potato, an onion, and a piece of bread. And I tortured people, and it was advanced for the time. I hurt others in a very advanced way, But now, do you see to what extent the will to receive? You see how Hollywood and the movies and the way that they depict the pain that they inflict in others, and in what perverse ways they lock people and make them do things to themselves. And my God, I don't even want to talk about it. But my point is this: is that you see how much more developed the will to receive is, both for being sensitive to like love and good things, and also for the evil. Meaning that now. Before, it was enough to just kill you. Yeah, now I'm perfecting the art of killing you and making you suffer to no extent. And this is, later we talk about it also, it's when there's something, when we acquire masach, and even before it, that occurs, and it's the coarseness of it, the coarseness of the ego. It's aviyut. And we discuss aviyut later, like I think, actually next week, I think, or the one after. Meaning that the more a person grows in sanctity, the more he also grows in aviyut, in coarseness. He becomes a little more coarse. So my point is this: is that this is all those opposites, right? And so we can agree that okay, the world is either heading for a good place or a bad place, right? We all know looks more like it's going to a worse place than it is better. Even though I'm naturally optimistic and I have children, I would hope that things would get better. But also you see how the will to receive is developing so much that even our generations don't want to have children. They don't want to get married. They don't want to bring people into this world when the world is horrendous, And so we see how the natural makeup of what nature is and it's becoming more and more complex, and more the will to receive is taking new forms, and it's much more visible, which is the point of it, because we were supposed to discover how not good things are in order to then want the good, and for Creator to create such a place where even the wicked will want to exit and not be evil, you know. But we've diverted quite a bit. And I think it's because you guys don't want to take that exam.
Is it true? There's an
There
exam.
it is.
Written or I'm together now?
Yes, we're going to take a break, then we're going to take the exam, so don't worry. Any other questions before the exam? So look, but once again, this is the last time you'll hear me talking about this, about the evil. We only focus on the good.
Yeah.
Okay? Because honestly, like all of us are very optimistic, very, you know, we will do it actually. It will occur.
And by talking about it, you are kind of empowering that energy. You know, keep happening.
There's a group of there's some large society that they actually have. Their role is to look at all the spiritual societies around the world, including governments and everybody, all the societies and all the governments, and rank them in a way on who has the most influence or ability to change the world, right? Very interesting. And turns out that one was like America, two was like some other place like Russia, and along 3 and 4 was B'nai Baruch. And we had nothing to do with these people. We don't know who they are. It was just some article that came to us where there was a list that said, they said, most influential societies that actually could possibly make change in the world, you know, either for the good or the bad or whatever. ISIS also was on the list, and because they can also implement change, you know. And B'nai Baruch was on the thing like this, and you know, and we're of course sure we have some odd 2 million students, roughly more, some closer, some further away from us, you know, for the study, but. You know, like this, amazing, and that they said that, and what they wrote was that they saw that we had something that was that was above everything else, that had the ability to do something, you know, and that they felt us as if we were the only people that really had something that could do something. It was very interesting. So, anyways, let's take a break.
Is there water in the kitchen?
Yeah, girl. Here, look, here's a bottle for you right now. Cool. All right, 5 minutes, and then we'll do the exam. We still have workshop.
Yeah.
I love music.
Which one? This one?
There was one playing before with like the guitar, just like so.
You know what?
Orders.
Let me show you something. Let me show you something cool since it's just this.
I hate coughing in front of you, but it's just my throat's
Don't worry, dude. Dude, don't worry. All right, check this out. This is Danny Weisfield. He's in Israel. He studies with us. These are Kabbalistic melodies from Bala Salam. I've been making these lately. He's really good. He was
very popular too.
yeah, he was the lead guitarist for Kelly Clarkson, and then he came to study with us. There's you should see this like type it in melodies of the upper world. Our teacher discusses melodies and about the Kabbalists that always used music for different things, for like connection.
מקובל when a Kabbalist begins to perceive the upper world,
It's robotic.
he enters a different dimension.
Yeah.
The entire world is revealed before him. It's something that doesn't exist in this world. He perceives an entirely different picture. Forces that bring our world into action, and souls that are not attached to bodies. Past, present, and future stand before him in the present. He experiences all this. He lives fulfilled with the eternal, perfect sensation. He feels that he encompasses the whole of the universe. This deep emotional experience is impossible to express through words. In the books of the Kabbalists, they only advise us on how to attain such an impression, such a sensation, and the discovery of this reality. It's difficult for a Kabbalist to convey to us what he feels, what he faces, what's being revealed before him, what the concealed world is. Of all the means that we have in our world to express an idea, to give a picture, and to convey it to people who don't experience spirituality, there's only one medium that somehow expresses the impressions and delight of a man before whom the upper world reveals itself. Sound.
So then he goes off and he explains much more. But yeah, check that out. It's really nice. There's a second part, I suppose. I always thought it was just one long one. But yeah, I bet there's probably better. Recordings.
Of all the means that we have in our world to express an idea or to give a picture and to convey it to people who don't experience spirituality, there's only one medium that somehow expresses the impressions and delight of a man before whom the upper world reveals itself. Sound. This is why Kabbalists, in addition to writing articles and very difficult material, also write songs and melodies. It's one more way to express the sensations of a Kabbalist in a more concise,
So there's like a science behind the music.
direct way, from heart to heart, through sounds, without words. So that these sounds would enter our heart and change us in some way, somehow tuning us into perceiving the upper world. There's a soul in each one of us. The soul of a Kabbalist resembles a musical instrument that already plays properly and feels properly.
I want to then make a program about me.
I'm not prepared for an exam.
Well, I know we didn't study, but it's okay. We'll help each other.
You're supposed to tell us these things.
Don't worry. Don't worry. It's multiple choice, and it's open book, and we'll help each other. Open discussion. Yeah, take anything you like or want. Coffee's done. Yeah.
Took some pens in case our pens run out of things.
Yes, please
Taking a test.
do it. And if you, everything stands in the balance. If you pass it, you stay. You fail.
Okay, we're coming. So then you just have to come with us into the women's
Guys,
staff.
I'm telling you, thank you for going in there and looking for stuff. This is your house. Oh, by the way, Raphael's
What do I
not
do
going to
to
join
get
us
left out?
on Sunday, so it's just me. So I'm going to look to you guys. Please help me out.
Now you said Alfredo was showing up?
Alfredo is coming. He's coming next week. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'll wait for these guys and I'll tell you. And then we'll have a little clip. A
He knew
3-minute
there
clip.
was a test. Smart man.
Yes. Thank you.
Let's see your coffee making skills, Warren.
I may not be as good as Raphael, but
I don't usually inspire.
no. Actually, I'm going to have some myself.
Slips out of the way. Didn't I? Oh, sorry. That's your plate. I can proceed to order. My lunch.
There's a little bit more, not much more, but a little bit.
Okay, so, all right, so how many of you guys have been using the blog? Lightman.com/blog. Anybody?
It's funny.
You didn't go yet?
No. I went, when you pointed that out, and I realized that I had it saved in my computer in the reading list in 2014.
Oh my God, that's pretty amazing.
I think this has been here for
2014, that's awesome.
years.
Yeah, 3 years. That's good. YouTube is also a good resource, by the way. If you look up like Kabbalah.info, different things like this, and you find clips about Rav, it's really good also. And I know there's, like, we were just talking with Jose about the melodies of the upper world. And Marilyn, you might want to look this one up.
That's what we were talking about.
See?
In a different way.
Yeah, there you go. So he discusses about music and how it's like it represents like the feelings in the person's soul and this and that. So you can check this out. It's really neat. And there's one that I saw about the 72 names of God,
Oh, yes.
which
That's me. That's
I will play for
You
you.
mean 72 virgins that they're gonna get?
Oh, is it?
That's the 72
So-
names of God.
So I'm curious also. So let's watch it. It's 3 minutes long, and then we'll take the test. All right.
I'd like to know about the 72 names.
All right. So this is a clip about it. Let's see. It's a clip from the show called Ask the Kabbalist.
I would like to know about the 72 names, what they mean, and if we can use them under certain circumstances to connect to them and ask help to help through them.
Here, I'll pause it so you can. Yeah. Yeah. Don't worry. I got you.
Okay. Thank you.
So yeah. So write down melodies of the upper world. That's what you put in YouTube.
Melodies of the upper world.
Yeah, and it talks. It's like a 30-minute thing, and it talks about the music and everything. It's really nice. I think you'll like it. And this show is called Ask the Kabbalist. If you put it in also on YouTube, tons of clips will come up on all kinds of subjects, like whatever you want to know about. It's there. But it's neat because it's in like little segments, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, and you get.
Does that have to do with the tuning of David?
David wrote it was all songs,
Yeah, those songs were written in certain chromatic tones that bring up your vibration.
Mhm.
It's all you see that the when a person reaches the upper system, there's no words to describe, and so melody is one that is closer to kind of being able to give a sensation or a feeling. an emotion. All right, let's watch this. Here we go.
I would like to know about the 72 names, what they mean, and if we can use them under certain circumstances to connect to them, to ask help through them. The 72 names are combinations of letters of the Creator in His bestowal upon us. The 72 names are the light of wisdom that fills the Kli of Chasidim and shines in us. I don't know how to explain it more simply. Forgive me. The 72 names are the filling of our soul. It can only be with the light of Upstag, which comes to us. Many words. I'm saying everything. You brought me this dangerous question. In short, 72 names are only for those who achieve God. That's even worse. Today, this time our answer is in Chinese. Let's put it this way. Only a genuine Kabbalist who achieves a very special Kabbalist who achieves a very high level, high degree, can know the Creator to such a point, such an extent that he'll know these 72 names addressed in Him, where all the lights, all these names address all these letters. And in through it, he becomes like the Creator and can do what the Creator does. These are very special people. I don't want to say if it even exists in our world, if it belongs to this world or not. It's a very special thing. It's not just about opening the Zohar with the charts of the 72 names and looking at them. It's meaningless. It doesn't give you anything. You need to tend to the spiritual ascension and try to achieve that degree, and then you work with what is called the 72 names. I saw in Stamatsky, a book with the 72 names, I saw chains with one of the combinations of the 72 names. So now some keep combinations in the cars. I saw a businessman, an educated businessman, who showed me 3 golden letters. What are these things? People believe it'll be good for them. His ego will be kept, everything will be okay, thank God, he'll be able to sell something good, he'll be able to use others. It's the complete opposite of what the Torah should give him, or what Kabbalah should bring him. Love of others, ascension above matter. He takes it all to use the wisdom of Kabbalah and spirituality to benefit matter. It'll never work. But it works in ordinary faith. It gives people a good feeling. But all the charms, the red strings, holy water, and the 72 names, and everything else that people think will help them, doesn't help them one bit, any of them, except psychological support, which you can't deny. The psychological power, the defensive force that a person evokes within, when he's certain it'll help him, that helps him. But there is nothing spiritual that works in it. Because first you need to achieve that spiritual degree, and then use it. And then when you use it, you're not using it for the corporal life. You're using it only to bring contentment to the Creator.
I've heard that before, and then I've heard the opposite argument too. So good. Thank you.
You're welcome. So another resource for you to look and find. Okay.
Well, basically, that's what you're saying. It's beyond it.
Yeah, it's above. It's later we'll know why all these things. But for now, let's start on our degree. Okay, so like I said, this is the exam, and everything stands in the balance of this exam. If you pass it, you're allowed to stay. If you're not,
we're not talking
we'll see each other in the next lifetime.
Money back, right?
Exactly, refunds forever. We'll see you in the next lifetime. But anyways, no, actually, there's no test in Kabbalah. No one's ever going to quiz you. Actually, after you graduate and you go through this program, no one will ever ask you about any subject. They're not going to measure you on your knowledge of this material.
Life is the exam.
Exactly. So, but we like to do it because it's good. It tests our knowledge. Have we been listening? Have we been paying attention? Are we absorbing it? Is it penetrating us? So here in class we do it, okay? But it's open book, it's open friend, it's we help each other, okay? But it is and it's multiple choice, and you only have two choices, A or B. Which one is it? So it's not.
Yeah, like, do you like your instructor's haircut?
Yeah,
Yes or no?
exactly. So you have to do that one at the end.
Is he handsome? Like, yes. I was like,
See? Now you're talking. That's my kind of test. All right. Question 1. What is the wisdom of Kabbalah? 1, the method to reveal the Creator to the created beings, or 2, the study of the laws and spiritual roots.
So who answered?
But there's no A and B.
Is there 1 or 2?
Oh, they're not seeing it. Here's the A, here's the B. Apparently you're not paying attention.
Thank you.
All right. Who says it's 1? Who says it's 2? Hold up your finger with a 1 or a 2.
Can be both. It actually is both, in my opinion.
Aren't these tricky questions? It's like,
All right,
can
one.
it be both?
Close that because you can see the answer.
The wisdom is 1. The means is 2.
All right, good. Let's
I
see.
think semantically speaking, it'll be 1.
I don't think it's gonna be either one. I mean, you said that can't be an answer because what is Kabbalah, but the wisdom of Kabbalah is, I think the wisdom is 2, and 1 is the method is Kabbalah itself.
Anything else you want to add? Oh, seeing what says go into the book, he's makes up my answer there. You're more than
Good
welcome to
idea.
look.
Good idea.
Well, it says that the wisdom is no more, no less than sequence of roots.
Those 2.
The revelation of his godliness to his creatures in this world.
So Kabbalah itself, I have as method. That's just Kabbalah. The wisdom of Kabbalah is the connection. We don't know. Go ahead, tell us.
All right, the answer.
We failed.
The answer is 1.
Oh, no.
Okay. The method to reveal the Creator to the created beings. But also, and look at number 2, the study of the laws and spiritual roots. It's like, that's pretty close also. But really, we wanted to distinguish the fact that it's not just like a study where we just study. We're learning, we're feeling, we're experiencing. So even though it's like, it's right there, it's so accurate, it's a method, it's a way to do it. That's what we want to distinguish. So it's not just like let's like theoretically learn something.
So you're saying Kabbalah and wisdom of Kabbalah are the same word. It's not 2 distinct things.
Oh, same things? Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, Kabbalah, the word itself means reception, right? So,
To receive.
yeah, to receive, right. But then the wisdom of Kabbalah is this, the method to reveal the Creator. Yeah, the method. Okay, next one. Question 2. Where does the man reveal spirituality? It's funny, these, the man. That's why the man meaning the man, like Adam, the human, the one human, including inside of it
That would be a good word for them.
men, women, yeah, men and women. So let's see, where does the man reveal spirituality?
I'm going to say 2 also.
2 is all around?
We're just bright people.
There you go, and my corrected desire. It's not in your understanding. It's not where you're going to get it. You okay?
I don't know.
Wrong 2? Good thing we have a nurse.
Hi, Rick.
All right, so, all right, good job. All right, question 3. Well, what is the benefit of reading the Kabbalah books? Is it 1, the accumulation of knowledge about the spiritual worlds, or 2, attracting surrounding light?
2.
2 is all around again? All right, let's see. Boom, light that reforms, exactly. Actually, the more you forget, the better off you are. The less you retain, the better. Even though later you'll see totally that it's in you. The method is inside of you. I have a buddy of mine.
You have to watch Westworld. That's your
That's
that's
my
your
homework.
homework.
That's my homework. All right, I'll put it over.
HBO for free, 7 days free. This is cheating, but
Is it really?
yes, you go in and type in HBO, and it'll give you the 7 days free. You can-
That's not cheating.
And that's online?
That's true. They'll give you a preview of what's on. You're
Nice.
taking advantage of their preview.
All right, so this friend came. His name's William. He underwent our whole education center, and of course he was at the time he was 21 when he did it, and then now he's like 24, something like that. But at that time he left. He left the study. He kind of left here, but he went to Brazil. He got married. He had a child. He's trying to bring them here, and so he's here working. So he helped me do some of the work in my house and started to hang out with him. And I haven't seen him we were very close when we were in class together, but I hadn't seen him or talked with him really for some years. And when I saw that, even though he wasn't in the study constantly, or he wasn't constantly in the environment, the method was in him. It was very interesting. It was like the method was like on him. It was like clothed in him. And it wasn't like in his thoughts or anything. It was just how he saw things. Like his whole perception was different. Like when we just were talking about subjects, the way he would approach it or see it was like any one of us who was everyday study, you know? And so we see that this thing is like it clothes you. It's not just in your mind and how you rationalize things, but it's like when you attract this light, the surrounding light, it really works on you. It's pretty amazing stuff. So, and of course the books are how we can do that. Okay, so what's the difference between love of others to love of the Creator? Is it one, the love of others is the purpose, and love of the Creator is the means? Or two, love of friends is guarded from mistakes?
One.
I think it's one, but I just don't really understand that way that the sentence.
Yeah, there should have been a comma here. The love of others is the purpose, comma, love of the Creator is the means. So what's your answers?
One.
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 I think it's one, but I'm not really sure I understand.
All right, so even if you thought it was two, there's a rule about social contagion that you will take the majority's answer because you don't want to seem
I don't think it's true.
like the dummy.
That was a hint.
You still have time to change your answer. All right, here we go. Which one is this? And this one's a tricky one because we got to talk about it. But love of friends is guarded from mistakes.
Oh.
All right, why? Okay, so the love of others is the purpose. Love of the creators is the means, meaning that the purpose.
Oh, they're that opposite.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
right,
So yeah, love of others is the means, and love of the creator is the purpose. Yeah. But then look at the other one. Love of friends is guarded from mistakes. It's a crazy one, right? We never really kind of talked about this, so let's discuss it. There's a song, which is a pretty awesome song that we made, and it says, "When we're together, we can do no wrong." Right? That's how the song goes. And when we're together, we can do no wrong. So it's over and over again. There's other things that go on, right? But it's in all languages, right? But meaning that when we're together and we're doing love of friends, love covers all transgressions. Meaning that there are no mistakes. Meaning that remember how it's like we love each other, and if the baby poops his pants, you clean his butt. It's something like this. He gets something dribble on his face, you clean his face. Like this. We love each other, meaning that there's no mistakes, there's no wrongs, because we're here, we're agreeing to it. So meaning that we don't judge each other as with the eyes of this world. Meaning that we look at each other actually in a very beautiful way. That these friends are from Creator. They were assigned to me by Him, and so much so that Creator is behind them. So when they open their mouth and I'm looking at them and I'm listening to them, their mouth is moving, but it's actually creator speaking to me. Okay, this is how we look at each other. It's very interesting. And yet they may say something that I don't really understand yet. And but it's creator speaking to me. So, and he's a part of me. Later we see that they're actually my upper 9 Sefirot. They're my upper 9 Sefirot, and I'm like the lower one. I'm like the Malchut, and they're like the upper 10 for me. They're my they become my upper 9 Sefirot, and I am the Malchut, and they become the rest for me. Yeah, and so, but meaning that when we're together, when Love of Friends is guarded from mistakes. If you're doing Love of Friends, there are no mistakes because it's all purposeful and all necessary. And even though, like any child who's trying to learn something, he fumbles and he, you see when there's a study that's done in leadership things where they showed that they put these super mathematicians on one side and second graders on the other side, and they gave them marshmallows, some sticks, and some tape on each side, and they say, okay, guys, you need to build a structure that as high as possible between the two teams, and whoever wins, you get a prize. So go. And okay, so who won? The second graders. You know why? Because the mathematicians sat around and they tried to formulate a way and all this stuff, and they out-theoried themselves on how they're going to build it. And then they finally build it, and then it falls, and then time's up. They can't even go back and try to fix it. But the 2-year-olds were like, put this here, do this, fall. Okay, now this. Okay, and they were constantly failing, constantly making mistakes, and constantly growing and adapting and learning as a result of it. And ultimately, they made a really cool structure. And so that's the point, is that we're learning, and it's okay, and it's an environment where we can make mistakes, and it's all right, and we clean each other's butts. It's horrible to say, but you get what I'm saying, that we really help each other. Each one helps his friends because we're going through these fun things, and that we're revealing our nature, and it's not easy. And so today I'm loving you, tomorrow I may throw something
That's
at
in
you.
a perfect world, not in this world.
Yeah. But we're simulating this upper world. You'll see how much we really are doing this. So when we're together, we do no wrong. There's no mistakes. Okay, so what's the difference between love of others to love of the Creator? That I love everyone so much around me that they're perfect. There's no mistakes. Okay? It's me who needs to change my glass.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, ready for the next one? Question 5. What is man's free will? 1, the choices in the environment, or 2, man has no free will.
I know you teach one, but I'm not convinced that we have free will.
Okay. So you're saying 2.
At the moment, I'm not convinced that I don't think the choice is truly free. The choice of the environment is completely comes from free will.
Also. Yeah. What are you saying?
Well, to some degree that is true, in that we're put in the world in the environment that we're put. So to some degree I understand what she's saying.
No, I agree too.
However, I still say we choose our environment because we can move once we're adults.
Yeah.
That's very philosophical. Like, who came first, the egg or the hen? Like, if we go from the perspective of there's none else but him, we don't have free will. We're just subject to whatever is given. But at the same time, if we are all part of the same organism, thinking ourselves as small cells in one body, like as the big body, as the whole, including Creator and us, we made the decision of joining the body. So probably spiritually, we do have free will, and corporeally, we don't.
You already chose, right?
Well, yeah.
Did
I
you?
mean, what we I think what we learned was number one, so I'm gonna go with one because I want to.
Exactly, you want to move forward.
Because it's like my home and I didn't pass some books.
Oh, man.
I'm gonna make a really
All right, let's see. It is in the environment, right? Because look, honestly, it's crazy because you're absolutely right, and you're right too, and we're all right in the sense that because there's none else besides him who's doing everything anyways. And so if that's really the case, then what? We don't have any free will at all. He made this whole movie for me, and he's moving me, and he's making me talk and do things and say, and all the desires are entering, and everything. It's all him completely. But still, we have to have one place, you know. And the Kabbalists say that you at least have one place where you can make efforts, and that's to get to an environment and put yourself under their influence. Because later, it's kind of like when you're teaching a child to walk, that eventually you have to take your hands off and you have to let him walk, and he has to take the steps on his own. And so like this, the Creator holds us for a very long time, but eventually he takes his hands off, and because he wants you to make the efforts. He doesn't want to rob you of the efforts. He wants you to come to him by your own decision making, even though he throws you curveballs and this and that to it's horrible. The kid's trying to walk and he's kicking them and stuff, but I'm telling you, it's worthwhile. This is all good. So for now, because now we'll be stuck in this philosophical world, like back and forth. Let's just agree that you have a choice, and it's your environment. Because you're going to see, you may not notice it, but there'll be a decision point. I'm exhausted. Oh, I don't want to go to class. This and that. Maybe I'll just stay on this couch, And or like buddy shows up. Hey man, what's up? Let's go party. And you're like, yeah, and of course sometimes you have to, but my point is this: is that you choose. You have a choice. If not, then I don't know. It would be crazy if we didn't at least have one choice.
By digesting that idea not only intellectually but emotionally is when you are able to love your friends. Because in their imperfections, you are gonna say you are perfect and you are beautiful and I forgive you. I understand you.
Exactly. I mean, they had no choice anyways, and they were also operated upon. And even though we have this thing where lots of times if someone comes to you and says, hey, you have these flaws, you say, well, go to the craftsman that made me, Go to him. I didn't choose to be this way. I didn't, what do you want from me? This is how I am, and I can't avoid it. You sit me in front of some people, and I'll lose my patience, under certain circumstances, and this is just how it is. What do you want? Be patient with me, love me, kiss me, teach me how to be better, but don't damn me, So, this is all good. Okay, what does the phrase none else besides him mean? 1, one force leads the world, or 2, only man can reveal the Creator?
I don't think the is supposed to be in there.
One force is. Yeah, these were translated from Hebrew, so it's the same lessons they give over there in Israel.
Am I the only one?
Yeah, you're the only one. Luckily, you didn't hear what they had to say.
So if you did hear, I think he's giving you a hint that we're wrong.
One.
All right, let's see. 1. One force leads the world. That's what everyone said, right? Yeah,
Of course.
Okay. Very good. Okay, what is the Creator according to the wisdom of Kabbalah? 1, the power of the one who runs the creation, or 2, the quality of bestowal?
2.
He's looking at his
2.
That what happened when you don't come to class, huh?
yeah.
Don't let me tell you.
So hang on, we'll look at 1 though. Look at 1, the power of the one who runs the creation. Somebody's running the machine.
Yeah, both true.
Well, if you believe creator is a verb, then creator's not the one running. Creator is the verb itself, bestowal.
True. Anyone want to change their answers? Both. So, but a power can be a verb.
Yeah, power.
Yeah, the power of the one who runs the creation. So, ultimately, yeah, this was like the wild card in the thing. It's like,
We thought it was the first one.
so it's okay. Creator's running creation. He's operating the whole machine, and he's the quality of his soul. And I think that's it. So cool. Congratulations, you guys passed the test. Good.
Yeah.
Move forward.
Right.
Very good. Okay, so let's talk about. Oh, we're a little over. We gotta end it here. We probably won't do a workshop this week. We'll just do it really fast. Just a couple questions. But what's to come? So, like I told you guys, semester 2 is really like it can be a challenging semester for a lot because it's very much discussing the upper system, the structure of creation. So much so that it's actually. Well, I'll show you what it is in a little while. Right after this one, there's another slide that shows you. But and then, so we talk about the structure of creation from the thought of creation to this world. And then secondly, there's relevant topics on this world and Kabbalah. So meaning, you'll see that we'll talk about in lesson 2 next week, light and kli, and then we'll talk about man's nature. Okay, like human's nature. Okay.
I think we're getting past that right now.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Because I got to keep doing it. It's
you know
gonna.
you realize it, so we're
Yeah.
moving
All right. Good.
past
So we're
it.
okay. All right. Good. So lesson 3, 4 phases of direct light. Okay. That's an awesome lesson. One of my favorite ones. 4 phases of direct light, and then Kabbalah's approach to health. Lesson 4, restriction and screen. So tzimtzum and masach. So this is already the restriction and the masach, because we're going to build the whole system of creation. And then we're going to talk about male and female elements in Kabbalah, okay? Lesson 5, the spiritual parzuf, and then we're going to talk about family and spirituality. Lesson 6 is the inverse relation between lights and vessels. That's a really hard class. And then Kabbalah and the interconnected world. And then at the end, lesson 7, connecting the points and a Kabbalistic view. So we'll find out how it goes.
You've been feeding me for weeks.
Yeah?
I'm scared.
The masach, does that enable us to contain the light once we've got that?
Yeah, once
We're not broken anymore as a shard that can contain light.
right. Once a Kli acquires Masach, now he can actually receive the light, but in a proper way. So now we are receiving light, but we're not like we're enjoying. We're getting pleasure, right? Because light is pleasure. And so we're receiving pleasure now, but we don't have a restriction, which is the tzimtzum, to such an extent that we can restrict the intention of how I'm receiving it. So as a result of adding the intention of how I'm receiving the pleasure, what this does is then now it begins to, I can receive light and it'll enter, but in a different way. Now,
Sounds like it's filtered.
yeah, I can make calculations now. Now there's information that comes along with the light that enters.
So does the parzuf grow?
Yeah, it does, absolutely. The parzuf develops and develops. And actually, this is, once the light enters and it penetrates and it goes in, that's what actually causes the creation of all the upper worlds. And then that's how it expands. And then it becomes a process, kind of like a program of, I must be able to receive all the pleasure that the Creator has to give in 100%, but not for me. And then that's what kicks off the whole process. So it can do it at the beginning, 1%, let's say, and then it's 2 and 3 and 4, and it begins to fill. But and its goal, it's like a program. It must reach 100% full pleasure and fulfill and light entering the Kli, but in the right way, not like we've been doing it now, which is in the incorrect way. Okay.
Will you say it one more time? Sefirot.
Sefirot. I'll write it.
I know what it looks
You know
like.
what?
I just can't say it
Sefirot.
right in my head.
Sefirot.
Wrote.
Are we ever going to get
Sefirot.
to do path work
Password.
on the Sefirot?
Oh no, we will not.
You won't.
No, we won't. We won't do any of that stuff actually, and you'll never see the drawing of it either. During this whole process now here, despite we draw the 10 Sefirot, we don't draw it in the image that you've seen it like this. we draw it with all the interconnection like this. You won't see it like this. You'll actually only see it.
And why?
Why? Because it's because this is
divert us from the purpose of these particular.
yeah, this is an image that that is widely used and can cause great confusion to people. So you'll see it when we discuss this set. You'll see it just from above, like a line. Keter, Chochma, Bina, Zerampin, Malchut. That's the abbreviated the five. And then later we'll break out Bina and we'll describe what's inside of it and what each one is and all that. But
5, not 10.
interesting, right? And then you'll see why is there 5, and it's because there's 5 collapsed inside of Bina.
Academically.
Which you can also call it Tiferet. You can also call it Tiferet and stuff like that.
Somebody's at the door.
Yeah. All right. So, hey Joe. So yeah, he just left. So it's because at 5:30 we used this. Yeah, more people going. Hey Terry. So we use this this room for meetings with some of the guys, but I'm going to stop recording anyway. We're already at the end of the lesson. So Terry, I'm going to stop recording and you can take it back and you can tell Joe. But I do have to close it though, so I'm going to kick you out. All right, there we go. Oh, shite said, I may not have been recording this whole time.
Well, it was just a recap. So if
Exactly.
there's
So,
anything new.
exactly.